Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about a particular question that gets asked a lot, which is why do we keep fighting mid lane? And the next part of that question is how can we abuse the fact that everyone keeps fighting mid lane? So I want to share a few things about why people fight mid lane particularly, as well as why pros fight mid lane. So the first thing that I want to share is why do pros fight mid lane? And pros fight mid lane for really two reasons, okay? They fight mid lane to be grouped up so that they can go from, let's say, for example, the enemy pros are going to cheese a tower, right? If you're grouped up mid lane and the enemies don't show up, then you can watch top and bottom, and then you could cut them off and kill them when they cheese a tower. So they get one tower and you get 5 kills, right? So that's the main reason why pros are doing it, is so that they can stay together and then they can hit people from any different direction and they can cut people off during rotations. However, the second reason why pros do group up mid lane goes into the next 3 reasons of why everyone should be grouping up mid lane. And that is for quests. So the first thing you should always look at of should we be grouping mid lane is quests. Do you have quests that you want to complete? And for example, we have Dash, which Dash needs an orb. So we want to make sure that because the minions hit mid lane first, you want to make sure that he gets an orb before he goes to top, which is what he says. He says, I'll go top after mid fight. So we're going to focus on getting this first orb, and then he's going to go top. Then he'll get the orb that gets up there, and he'll start out with 2 extra orbs. Let's say, for example, Hanzo got the Q talent that he stacks his Q, or even Redemption, either way. He has 2 different quests that if he gets them done early, he'll have a really strong laning phase. So Hanzo could come mid with us and could start getting some quests done. On the other hand, on their team, Varian has 2 quests that he could be getting done, as well as Vala has a quest that she could be getting done. So there's a lot of quests you can do. So the first question you should have is, do we have enough quests to make it worth giving them quests? All right? So that's the first question. The second question is, do we have any way to initiate and get a kill early on? So that question comes down to Stitches and Sonya, right? Stitches could hook someone, Sonya could Q them, which stuns them, Tychus can do a W, which knocks them back towards your team, and it's a guaranteed kill, right? We have a very strong combo that's easy to predict and easy to land. They, however, all they have is really Diablo, right? They could Rhaegar slow, but that's not going to do much on its own. It's just the Rhaegar flip. So all they can rely on is a Rhaegar flip. A Diablo flip. My bad. Diablo flip. That's it. That's all they can rely on. Which puts it into a really weird perspective of, should they even fight? I don't think that they should. I wouldn't give Hanzo free stacks. I wouldn't give Stitches a free kill. So then, if I was on red team, I would split and have one person go top, one person go bot, and 3 people go mid, and then just kind of act it out as if you're fighting to delay the enemies from going back. But don't get caught, don't get pulled. If anything, even stay behind the walls is the safest bet, because this lane will get pushed to give the orb to Tychus, and it'll get pushed right up to you, and you won't lose any experience. So I would recommend red team, just simply soak. The last and final question that you ask of should we be fighting mid is, do we have a stronger level 1 team? Even if you don't have an initiate, if neither teams have initiates and there's an equal amount of quests, what you can do is you can look at our level 1 teams and say, for example, Varian has a very weak level 1 because he doesn't have his ultimate ability, and he honestly is down in stats until he has that. So his level 1's pretty weak. Rhaegar is a pretty strong level 1. Diablo is a very strong level 1. Greymane Valas are okay. Is it stronger than the other team? I don't know. Sonya's is pretty strong, and people might be asking me, wait, who has a strong level 1? Well, that's a lot of practice and playing a lot of heroes and testing out their level 1 to find out who's actually really strong level 1 versus who's not. I could write a little guide on who I think is strong level 1, but honestly, I probably won't get into that too much. It's simply practice. Just kind of imagine their abilities and go, okay, is this guaranteed damage? Is this poke? What do we need to rely on, right? So that ends really the four major things you need to be looking at. That for the pros, they focus on keeping themselves alive as well as cutting people off during rotations to get kills. That's why they stick with 5, as well as they stick with 5 in case there's doing anything where, like a Sylvanas, they want to down a tower quickly. There's a variety of reasons why pros want to stay as 5, but it's mainly so that they don't die. The reasons why you want to stay as 5 is quests first, and then quick kill potential with hooks or stuns, flips, and then finally is your level 1 fight stronger. If you're not sure about any of those, I highly recommend the soaking. And the reason that I recommend the soaking is because in low level ranks, people stay here way too long, and these give more experience than early game kills if you could just soak lanes effectively, because early game kills are worth very low experience. So I highly recommend not worrying too much about kills here and focus on soaking here and here. All right? And especially if you can do it, there's a little trick that I like to do, which is stay hidden and don't actually push the wave, because then if you stay here with 4 versus 5 for a long period of time, they may never go down and match the soak because they don't think anyone's down there. So if you don't push the lane and you just sit here, minions will die on both sides, you'll get experience and your enemies won't. Small tip. And if you're planning on doing that, which is sort of the method that we go here, this is not what I recommend, but that's the method that we do here, is we have one person go top, one person go bot, and we send 3 people mid. When you're in this scenario, I have a strategy for you that's a very old strategy. In fact, it's so old that it was written by a general in an ancient Chinese military, Sun Tzu. He wrote a book called The Art of War. And in that book, there's a quote that he used that's appear weak when you are strong and appear strong when you are weak. And the reason that he said this is, let's say you had a battle where you had 25 soldiers and you knew you were going against 500 soldiers. There's an old story, and it's a variety of different. It's told in a variety of different ways, but effectively the story is based off of flag carriers, and there were battles a lot earlier in the Chinese era where, and I could be telling this slightly wrong, but again, the story's been changed so many times that it doesn't really matter. But essentially, a flag carrier is someone who would hold a flag to keep a squadron of people together. So 25 units, 25 people in an army would follow one flag carrier, and each flag would mean a different type of squadron, right? And what Sun Tzu would do is he would have, if his armies were much smaller, he would make more flag carriers so that you would see a whole bunch of flag carriers walking into the battlefield over a hill, and you wouldn't know how many soldiers were behind them. So if you only had 25 and you gave them all flags to carry, it would make it seem like your army was much, much larger, and you wouldn't have to fight unfavorable battles, right? So in this same scenario, what should we be doing in this fight? We have someone soaking top, someone soaking bot, and we're most likely going to have 5 people here on the enemy team. We should appear strong. I should be positioning myself. I'm Stitches, by the way, and I'm not going to do a great early game, so I'm going to show you guys an example of what not to do. I should be positioning myself to scare them off as long as possible so that we can get a soak up top and bottom. But instead, I go in the bush, which means that I'm going with the method of appear weak when you are strong, because I'm appearing weak with only 2 people here, but we're not actually strong, so we should be appearing strong right now, which is a huge mistake that I make. The enemies are appearing weak. They're only showing 2 people, but they are actually very, very strong right now, as you can see. So I make the mistake of falling for something that it's a strategy that I actually use often, and I fall for this strategy. So I go for a kill, and I get flipped, and I get killed. Spoiler alert, I get killed. But again, don't fret over early kills. Look at this experience that they got from this early kill. It's not very much. And watch how much experience we get by just soaking lanes over them. Do you see the importance of soaking over going for kills? We have more experience in them despite the fact that they got a kill early. So the longer that you can delay, or the faster that you can push, or you can stall the wave if you want to, No matter what you want to do, it's a great method. Now, if the teams commit to fighting here, you want to push the wave quickly so that it immediately goes there and kills off the wave without the enemies there. But if it's just poking back and forth for a long period of time, you want to hide in a bush and wait for minions to die. Both methods work very well, and it's very interesting. Now, as we end this video, I don't want this video to get too long. I want people to know why a lot of people will go mid even though they don't know why. And that sounds really strange, but I explained 4 reasons why you should be going mid and when you should be avoiding mid, as well as how you should position yourself mid lane in the case that you do decide to soak in other lanes. You should be appearing strong when you're weak, right? So why is it that people are constantly going mid even though they don't know these 4 tips and they don't watch pro games? And it simply comes down to a psychological thing that I did a video on called the social cognitive theory, which effectively means that we learn from our environment. And our environment is people going mid lane. So we are learning to go mid lane and we don't even know why we're going mid lane. So many people are going mid lane and they don't know why. And hopefully many of you are asking the question, why are we going mid lane? And you find my video and you learn why we should be going mid lane and why we shouldn't be going mid lane. But social cognitive theory explains that we learn from our environment, but it also explains that we teach our environment based off of our behaviors. So I want everyone here to start telling your team, hey, the enemies have more quests than us. Let's spread out. Let's not give them quests. Then you are going to be teaching your environment from your behavior, and it's going to be allowing your environment to learn what you should and shouldn't be doing in these lanes, right? And hopefully we all will learn as a community on when we should be grouping up 5 mid and when we should be soaking bot lanes and be gaining this experience lead over the enemy team. In my defense, I'm not going to show this entire game, but I will say we win, and we win because of my hooks. So despite me making a really dumb mistake early on, one that I'm still slapping myself because of, I did end up still carrying this game, and I'm not going to sell my team short. They played a very integral role in that, and they definitely helped. None of them were holding anyone back, so I do want to share that this was still a great game. But if you guys have any other tips you want to add below for the early game, feel free to throw it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video and this style of video, yeah, feel free to subscribe. This is how most of the videos go on my channel. I like to do a little bit of philosophy, a little bit of psychology, and a lot of Heroes of the Storm. So just let me know if you're interested in continuing listening to this. Feel free to subscribe.